Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Jasmy coin. But before we do, a word from our sponsor. Big shout out to Uber Eats for sponsoring this video. First 50 people get $20 off their first 2 meals, which means you can literally eat for free. Just use the code on your screen or the link in the description below. But yeah, guys, seriously, if you want, 2 free meals, just use that code or link in the description below. Look, let's talk about Jasmy. Here's the thing, right? Here's the one little concern I have about this token. I do think it's going to perform well, but they're not very active on Twitter, right? That's the one thing I noticed, is that they're not too active. When I just even scroll down, we can see that, some things are from February. There's like, one thing from March and they just retweeted it, right? They tweeted here. And then March 18th, boom, right? So there's like a few things, but overall, they're not the most active crypto when it comes to, just getting listed on exchanges or just the collaboration with this or doing that. So, that's just one of the things that, it's a little bit of a red flag for me. I like to see my coin active. I like to see my coin doing stuff. Last time was April 22nd, practically a month ago since, anything happened or got retweeted on the Jasmy Twitter, right? But look, let's talk about this token. Let's talk about some basic stuff. And then let's talk about the technical analysis. Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell, and where will this coin go? We can see that we are just right under 1 billion in terms of market cap. We can see in the last 24 hours we had 48 million worth of volume, and we can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are just sub 2 cents, right? Just sub 2 cents. We go down, we are already listed on a couple of big exchanges, which is what we love to see, right? Bigger exchanges means more volume, means more eyes on the coin, which is what we want. So look, right, if we go to the Jasmy coin, ladies and gentlemen, I won't go through the whole history, but I will go through a little bit of the history just so you know what is happening. Right, we can see this coin back in 2024 of February, pumped, had a solid rally, went sideways for a little bit more, had another pump. When it came back to retest, it held very well during the last summer of 2024. And then when all the coins started to really pop off, late November, early December, Jasmy had a rally, right? From under 2 cents upwards of over 5.5, 6 cents practically, right? Right under 6 cents. So, could have made very nice solid gains, right? At one point, even just 2.5 times in your money, 3 times in your money, or a little bit more. After that, ladies and gentlemen, right, we had the sell-off, like the whole market just sold off. But we can see that we did smash below this support, right? We smashed below the support, turning into resistance. We actually filled up this imbalance, right? If I take this big square, imbalance is practically when a coin or something just pumps super hard and it just kind of looks like it just went straight up, right? Kind of the way it just went straight down over here, right? And it's good that this got filled because usually there's some type of gaps and the market has to correct itself. So, we went back, we filled up this imbalance. We also did retest off of, a very key important area. You see multiple tops are over here. If I stretch this out a little bit more, right? So another key zone, right? We have these bottoms, couple tops, touched off this. And now we are pretty much flipping the resistance, right? Because we were under it and turning it into support. So what does that mean? Well, that means, ladies and gentlemen, overall, right now is a good time to be buying, right? Because we are on a very big support and resistance that has been relevant for months and months, right? Practically for over a year. Sure, at one point we fell through, but we already recovered and we are holding it very nicely, right? We are holding it very nicely. So, right, if you are looking to buy, obviously not a financial advisor, but right now would be a pretty good darn time to buy. Okay, in general, you should not be getting it for too much cheaper. And I would not be surprised if this coin wants to make a rally soon. Okay, because here's the deal. Right, here is the deal. Once we kind of start closing, just above 2 cents, above this yellow line, we have a lot of imbalance, right? What I just talked about earlier, we have a lot of imbalance kind of running up until, 3 cents, a little bit over 3 cents. So, this coin should kind of start pumping. And once it does start pumping, it is going to start pumping really, really fast, which means within even just a few short weeks or even shorter, we could just see this coin go up 50% or more, right? If we get it here now, the percentage go up to here, we could see this coin go up 75% within just a couple of weeks, which is not that much. Okay. Once we do take over this area, right, we're going to be chilling on the green box. From the green box, I expect us to be taking out the all-time highs, which is pretty much at 6 cents. Okay, so 6 cents, right? We consolidate a little bit, boom, and then we go up. Once we kind of go from here, this is when things are probably going to be near the end of Jasmy, but doesn't mean the pumps are going to stop. What I mean is altcoin season is probably going to start very, very soon. And I expect this coin at the bare minimum to be heading to all the way to 13 to 14 cents as there is a big monthly institutional candle. Now, that is not that much, right? That is just roughly a 6 to 7x, right? If we look at market cap, let's just say that's roughly 6 to 7 billion market cap, which is going to be more than doable. Remember, tokens, they can reach good market cap, high market cap, but they don't have to stay there long. So for me, at the bare minimum, this token should be hitting 14 cents, which would be a 7x, but that is if this coin flops. I do think at the bare minimum, we should be looking at a liquidity sweep over this monthly candle, right, over this yellow line, which would put us at above, a little bit around a 10x. A 10x is a very, very solid amount of gains, right? If you put in 20K, you're making 200 grand. If you put in 2K, you're making 20 grand, right? So those are the things I would be looking out for. We do have another big area of 35 cents, which at that point, right, it is a little bit less realistic, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. The reason why I say this is because if we were to 10x, we'd be roughly at 10 billion market cap. If we were to get to 35 cents, that would require roughly 15 16 billion, which 15 16 billion is not that high, right? It's a good amount, don't get me wrong, but in terms of peak altcoin season, it's really not that high. So I do think Jasmy will be sweeping the 35 cents, most likely topping out at 40 cents before going down. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to join the Discord, especially for a portfolio review. Time is running out. You do not want to have any coins that are not going to be making you gains. That is, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should have, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.